Well, it's Thursday, April 16th. I'm Brittany Noble, and here's what's coming up on the breakdown. A shocking murder-suicide in Virginia involving former Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax. What police say happened inside his home. And a Florida woman is facing felony charges after police say she carried out a racist attack on a black mail carrier in broad daylight. And A'ja Wilson lands a record-breaking deal, becoming the highest-paid player in the league. What it means for the future of women's sports and the ongoing fight for equal pay. The breakdown starts right now. Well, as always, we start with a breakdown of the headlines that you need to know about from across Black America. First, tragic, breaking news overnight. A murder-suicide in Virginia involving one of the state's most prominent Black politicians. Police say that last night, Justin Fairfax, the former Lieutenant Governor of Virginia, killed his wife and then committed suicide. Police have said that the two were in the midst of a divorce and were locked in a contentious custody battle. Details are still coming in, but here's what we know so far. Police were called to the Fairfax's home in Annandale, Virginia. A little after midnight, one of the couple's kids called 911. Upon arrival, they discovered Karina Fairfax unconscious and bleeding from a gunshot wound. She was later pronounced dead. As they searched the home, they found Justin Fairfax dead in another room after what they concluded was a self-inflicted gunshot. Georgetown University in Washington, D.C., one of the oldest and most esteemed colleges in the country. Well, now they are apologizing for its former slave ownership and renaming a prominent campus building after one of the formerly enslaved people that it once sold. Back in 1838, Georgetown and the church it was affiliated with was involved in the sale of more than 270 enslaved people. On Wednesday, in the presence of more than 100 of their descendants, the university permanently named the building as Isaac Hawkins Hall in memory of the first enslaved person listed in the 1838 sale document. Referring to slavery as the original evil of our republic, Georgetown President John DeGoya offered what he called a sorrowful apology and committed to an ongoing community reckoning with Georgetown's role in it. In the sports world, A'ja Wilson has inked a 3-year Supermax contract with the Las Vegas Aces that will make her the league's highest paid player. According to The Athletic, Wilson will have a starting contract of $1.4 million next season, with the potential to make up to $4.7 million over the course of the coming years. This comes as players in the W have been fighting for years for better pay and represents a huge pay bump for Wilson. This last season, she made just $200,000 despite being one of the most accomplished and sought-after players in the entire league. Well, viewers of the Black Star Network know that we have been closely following the arrest earlier this year of Black journalists in Minneapolis as they covered the massive protests that sprung up in response to the Trump administration's ICE actions. Well, one of those journalists, Georgia Fort, will attend next weekend's White House Correspondents' Dinner, the annual event in celebration of the First Amendment, as a guest of the Guardian newspaper. Journalist Don Lemon, who was also arrested amid coverage of the Minneapolis protests, says he will not be attending the event, saying it doesn't make sense to show up to a room that will prominently feature President Donald Trump, who has significantly attacked journalists and press freedom. Now for a story that we brought for you on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Last night in Colorado, President Trump is still denying a request from Democratic Governor Jared Polis for federal money to help people affected by wildfires and flooding. The request comes after natural disasters in which wildfires scorched more than 240 square miles in western Colorado, and severe flooding hit the southern part of the state. Well, the money would be used for debris cleanup, rebuilding infrastructure damage, and help protect communities across the state from similar weather events moving forward. But Trump's denial is raising fresh questions about whether the president is playing partisan politics with crucial disaster money. According to one analysis by the Urban Institute, Trump has approved nearly 84% of disaster aid requests from states that supported him in the 2024 election. That's compared to just 42% of requests from states that supported former Vice President Kamala Harris. A restaurant in Columbus, Ohio, has canceled a meet and greet event that was planned for this Friday by GOP governor candidate Casey Puttich after it was revealed that he previously made comments sympathetic to Hitler and the Nazis. He's one of three candidates running for the GOP nomination for governor of Ohio in a primary largely expected to be won by Vivek Ramaswamy. He went viral this week after he posted a video in which he asked an AI chatbot to list good things that Hitler did for Germany and later criticized the chatbot for prefacing its answer by noting the atrocities of the Holocaust. The restaurant CEO explained that while it often hosts events on behalf of the candidates from across the political spectrum, Puttich's comments about Hitler were a bridge just too far. Also in Ohio, the city of Akron will pay $24,000 to Terrell Battles, a black man who was punched in the face multiple times by a police officer during a June 2024 traffic stop. Police had pulled over a car being driven by Battles' brother for an expired registration, but body camera video shows the situation escalated quickly. Battles, who was sitting in the passenger seat, argued with the officer for more than a minute as the officer asked him to step out of the car. Then the footage shows Battles being pulled from the car and onto the ground, with the officer punching him in the head. The city's independent police auditor says he's made several recommendations following the incident, including discipline for the officer as well as better de-escalation training for the department. Ultimately, what comes next will be up to the police chief, mayor, and city council. And finally, a crazy story out of Miami. A woman in the city's Little Havana neighborhood is facing felony charges after police say she tried to run over her mail carrier Tuesday. According to police, a black postal worker was walking her route when a child approached her in order to get the mail for their home. That's when 34-year-old Lourdes Maria Portuguese allegedly yelled out to the child, "Don't talk to her," before calling the mail carrier the N-word. And next, they say she picked up a hose and sprayed the mail carrier and then got in her SUV and tried to run the black postal worker over. Well, later, the woman is accused of threatening to shoot the mail woman, and police later found a pellet gun inside of her home. Portuguese now faces 2 felony charges of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon with prejudice and is being held in jail. All right, coming up next on The Breakdown, right after the break, college athletes are cashing in on millions of dollars through NIL deals. But is the system leaving behind HBCU athletes? Capitol Beat reporter Alicia Taylor breaks it all down for us on the other side of the break. Stay with us. You won't want to miss the conversation. Plus, remember, for more news headlines and in-depth coverage 24 hours a day, you can visit the Black Star Network. We're your source for stories that matter. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
With medicine and science under attack, I want to keep you and your family informed and healthy. I'm Dr. Ebony Hilton, and I knew at the age of 8 that I wanted to be a doctor. So I studied hard and became the first African-American female anesthesiologist hired at the Medical University of South Carolina since its opening in 1824. And I always say I was made into a doctor, but I was born to be a mom. And as a new mom, wife, sister, daughter, and friend, I understand how frightening a medical crisis can be. I care for individuals on some of the worst days of their lives, and it's my mission to provide you with a safe space to gain clarity on issues affecting your mind, body, and soul. I recognize that there are health disparities, particularly as it pertains to race, and I want to help bridge the gap between you and your healthcare providers. Join me every Thursday for Second Opinion on the Black Star Network, where each week I'll invite experts from various medical fields to share the latest health news. We'll discuss topics such as the vaccine debate, mental and sexual health, medical bias, infertility, menopause, andropause, nutrition, and aging. Together with my medical colleagues, we aim to provide you with a second opinion. Don't miss it, Thursdays only on the Black Star Network.
If in this country right now you have people get up in the morning, and the only thing they can think about is how many people they can hurt, and they got the power, that's the time for mourning.
For better or worse, what makes America special, it's that legal system that's supposed to protect minorities from the tyranny of the majority.
We are at a point of a moral emergency. We must raise a voice of outrage. We must raise a voice of compassion. And we must raise a voice of unity.
We are not in a crisis of party versus party. We are in a crisis of civilization, a human rights crisis, and a crisis of democracy itself. And guess what? You've been chosen to make sure that those that would destroy, those that would hate, don't have the final say, and they don't ultimately win.
I'm Risa Colbert, and you're watching the Black Star Network.
Well, in college sports, the last few years have seen the explosion of name, image, and likeness deals known as NILs, which allows student athletes to make money through endorsements. Well, the result has been millions of dollars flowing into the wallets of college athletes, but these deals aren't currently subject to federal regulation, which creates a system that some people think will create an unfair and uneven playing field for HBCU athletes. Alicia Taylor of Capital B published a piece diving deep into the ins and outs of the issue and joins us now on the breakdown. Alicia, it's great to have you with us today.
Hi, it's great to be here.
Well, can you explain for our viewers exactly these NILs, how they work, and why some Black athletes may be at a disadvantage?
Of course. So as we know, NIL technically became legal a couple years ago when folks created a class action lawsuit after finding out or realizing that the NCAA was using their names, image, and likeness, also known as NIL, in video games and making profits off of them. So they filed the lawsuit, and that basically ended up making, illegal for athletes to be able to make money. But what comes with that is, in order to make money, you basically have to go to one of those big schools that has a lot of sponsorships. And we all know that HBCUs are significantly smaller than some of your Dukes, some of your, KU, Kansas University, your Mizzous, some of those big, large schools. And so because some of the sponsors are flocking to those bigger schools, and it's not necessarily federally regulated, it's kind of leaving some of our Black athletes out that are at some of these Black schools. And so now Congress is debating on a federal regulation that creates a patchwork that kind of like mends the patchwork that states have tried to regulate themselves their own, which has kind of caused some issues when students try to transfer across state lines.
So break this down. There's been a congressional hearing on some of those issues earlier this year. And so they're going to be addressing college eligibility issues. Can you break down what they're proposing?
Of course. So it gets complicated, and that's the point of the legislation. Like, all of this is just too complicated. So in some of the states, like Oklahoma, and there's a few other ones, there are some rules that are not the same in other states, as I previously mentioned. So for example, there are currently some push to have, when you try to jump into the portal, which basically indicates that, hey, I'm a free agent, I'm trying to transfer, I'm looking for a new program. When you jump into that portal, some states are trying to implement a rule that says once you jump into that portal, you find a new team, you have to sit out for an X amount of time. And when you're sitting out for an X amount of time, you're losing out on money. And so part of the congressional thing is kind of exploring. They haven't decided what the window should actually be, but just exploring like what can we do to basically stop or prevent students from keep jumping in and out of the portals and stuff like that. So, yeah.
And so there are skeptics, okay? You even quoted the researcher Billy Evans.
Billy Hawkins?
Tell us a little bit more about him.
Yes. So Billy Hawkins, really amazing. He has written about the intersections of Black athletes, not just at historically Black colleges, but also at predominantly white institutions. And while the gentleman, Dr. Travion Scott at Grambling State, testified in front of Congress and was like, this, creating a patchwork would be a positive thing for HBCUs. When I spoke to Billy Hawkins, who has done really in-depth research about the intersectionalities of the Black athlete in America, he cautioned that this could go wrong for HBCUs. And his citing for that was just simply that this proposed legislation could basically cut them off from even being included for NIL deals.
And how are college athletes and soon to be college athletes responding to these issues? I know you've spoken with some of them.
Absolutely. So a lot of athletes head in the game, they're not paying attention. It was kind of hard to find an athlete that's actually paying attention. But I spoke to a freshman at Howard University. His name is Dorset Edwards, very amazing. And when I spoke to him, he kind of gave me the inside look of how an athlete actually thinks when he's, trying, or he or she or they are trying to enter an academic program. And so when I spoke with Dorset, he was saying that NIL wasn't necessarily on his mind because he knew he was trying to get to Howard. And he also knew that if he wanted to make millions, he probably should have went to a predominantly white institution, but he also wanted a degree. And so when you have these NIL regulations, you put these young athletes, they're 17, 18, they're very young, sometimes 19. You put them in this position. Do I want to make millions and bounce around? Or do I actually want a degree? How do I focus on both? And so when I spoke to Dorset, he was saying if you wanted to focus on both, the best way to do that is to go to an HBCU. And so that's just just a look into one athlete's mind of how they view NIL. So the way he explained it is if you go to an HBCU, you're not really after those millions of dollars. And that's how we're leaving out our Black athletes at our Black colleges. They could be making millions, but unfortunately, some of the congressional and current state legislation is kind of blocking that.
So what should we be on the lookout for, especially those up and coming athletes? What should they be paying attention to?
So when I spoke to Dr. Scott and Dr. Hawkins, they both said, please be aware and be wary of your DMs. And that's a part of something that the congressional folks are trying to work out. Be aware of your DMs. A lot of these athletes are coming from complicated backgrounds, not saying that they're broke or anything like that. A lot of them come from complicated backgrounds. And we come from a complicated background and money is involved. People can sometimes go in your DMs and try to say, hey, I'll give you X amount of dollars if you throw this game. And so both Dr. Scott and Dr. Hawkins said, it ain't worth it. Don't do it. It's illegal. And hopefully Congress can also regulate some of these agents and some of these folks that are too into gambling from kind of interfering with the athletes' game. So be on the lookout of that and make sure that you're really, really weighing your options, and also make sure you're paying attention to what Congress is discussing. This was introduced last year, but it's still ongoing. They're still hearing arguments. Don't make any decisions without checking in and seeing what Congress is doing.
That's good. Alicia Taylor of Capital B, thank you so much for your reporting and for joining us here on The Breakdown.
Thank you.
All right, coming up next on The Breakdown after the break, in case you missed it on Roland Martin Unfiltered, newly released body camera footage out of Toledo, Ohio shows a white officer throwing a Black teenage girl to the ground over a jaywalking stop. Roland breaks it all down. Stay with us. And have you come across a news story that deserves our attention? We want to hear from you. Please, we're going to put a QR code. There it is right there. Take a moment to scan the QR code that's on the screen. That's a great way to connect with us here at the Black Star Network. We have a whole team of people that's working on this show, this daily breakdown show, and also Roland Martin Unfiltered. So just let us know what you're thinking. We'd love to hear from you. And we will be right back on the other side of the break. Stay with us.
said the quiet part out loud. Black votes are a threat, so they erased them. After the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act in 2013, Republican legislatures moved fast. New voter ID laws, polling place shutdowns, purges of black voters from the rolls. Trump's Justice Department didn't stop it, they joined in. In 2018, his DOJ backed Ohio's voter purge system, a scheme that disproportionately erased black voters. Their goal, erase black votes and political power. Yeah, that happened. These are the kinds of stories that we cover every day on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Subscribe on YouTube and download the Black Star Network app. Support fact-based independent journalism that centers African Americans and the issues that matter to our community.
If in this country right now, you have people get up in the morning and the only thing they can think about is how many people they can hurt, and they got the power, that's the time for mourning.
For better or worse, what makes America special, it's that legal system that's supposed to protect minorities from the tyranny of the majority.
We are at a point of a moral emergency. We must raise a voice of outrage. We must raise a voice of compassion. And we must raise a voice of unity.
We are not in a crisis of party versus party. We are in a crisis of civilization, a human rights crisis, and a crisis of democracy itself. And guess what? You've been chosen to make sure that those that would destroy, those that would hate, don't have the final say, and they don't ultimately win.
Well, today in our Black and Missing segment, Maryland police are asking for your help finding Asia Thomas. She's been missing since July 15, 2008. Police say she was taken by her non-custodial mother, April Thomas. Asia was last seen in Gaithersburg, Maryland, headed to Yonkers, New York. If you have any information on where she could be, please contact Maryland Police and the Maryland Center for Missing Children. That number, 1-800-843-5678. Well, in case you missed it on Roland Martin Unfiltered, Roland talks about the Toledo, Ohio Police Department releasing body camera footage showing an incident where a white officer threw a black teenage girl to the ground for jaywalking.
City leaders in Toledo, Ohio are demanding that charges be dropped after a 15-year-old girl was forcibly thrown to the ground Friday by a Toledo, Ohio police officer. Y'all, she was jaywalking. Cell phone video of the incident shared on social media by the girl's mother appears to show police questioning her before the situation escalated, resulting in her detention. On Tuesday, the Toledo Police Department released body camera footage showing the interaction between the officer and the teenage girl. The officer claimed the teen spat on him during the incident. The police department released over an hour of body cam and dash cam footage. Here's the officer's body cam video from the time he stopped the teen to the time he put her in the police car.
Go ahead and stop. Come up here to the front of the car, ladies. Go ahead and hop on over here to the front of the car, ladies. We'll talk to you in a second. All right, you guys are walking down the middle of the road. That's why we stopped you, okay?
Oh, so we're not supposed to walk in the street? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yep.
I didn't know that.
Yep. You have to walk on the sidewalk. It's also a safety thing. People in Toledo don't know how to drive. Okay? How old are you guys?
Y'all are in the middle of the street. Y'all are in Toledo. Y'all know how Toledo people drive.
I don't. I don't even live here.
You're pretty bad.
Well, I live in Indiana. I'm just down here visiting my friends.
How old are you guys?
15.
Have you always said no? Are you a recent? Sorry. How old are you? 18? You don't have an ID on you?
Almost.
Any of you guys have IDs on you?
I mean, I I have my school ID at home. I don't know. Like,
You ladies live around here? All right, well, I need names. Which one?
let me call my mom. Please.
Let me get your last name. You.
Understand the issue. Just pulled us over. Basically, we just walked.
First name. All right, first name.
Why is my mom not answering?
First name. I'm gonna ask you one more time, and I'm gonna take your phone and put you in handcuffs.
Who you talking to?
First name.
I just told you.
You can do without the attitude. You just gotta answer my questions. What's your date of birth?
Why is my mama not answering? What's the? I don't understand
Your
the
birthday.
issue, though. Girl, call your mama. What the hell?
And what?
Or I'm about to call my dad. Somebody.
Be running for like.
What's your birthday? So
We
what
have
year?
to talk to them for. We're minors. That's what I'm like.
All right. You don't want to answer questions.
What is your dad's like? What's his issue?
I'm asking you. Get your hand out of your pocket. Don't resist. You better stay back. Stand back.
Don't do that.
Whoa!
Stop resisting.
Fucking doing it. What is he doing?
Hands behind your back. Hands behind your back. Your hands behind your back. Your hands behind your back.
I'm fuck you up. Back up.
Stand up. Stand up. You spit all over me.
Keep him calm. Step up. Stand up. Stand her up. Stand up.
Oh my God!
Don't spit on me again.
My baby is the girl. Oh my God! It's on coordinate. Oh my God! Fuck you! Y'all got that bad number?
Folks, she was charged with resisting obstruction and harassment with a bodily substance, charges that she denied in court on Monday. The officer has since been reassigned. This is WTVG-TV's website. This is what City Councilwoman Venice Williams said, quote, I saw the dash cam. I heard the baby cry out. Go to my iPad. This officer should not be on the streets. I feel for his safety and our safety. This is not me saying that the police are not needed in our community. We need you to work with us to save our babies and not beat our babies. I want all the charges dropped for this young lady, all of them, because this could have been prevented. My panel, Rob Portillo, civil rights attorney, the Portillo Law Group out of DC, out of Atlanta, Rebecca Carruthers, president, CEO, Fair Election Center out of DC. I have no idea why she's wearing that trash today. I don't know what the hell she's doing wearing a Cowboys hat on Jackie Robinson Day. He Lord have mercy. Brian Shapiro, he is the host of Pushing the Limits. Glad to have y'all here. Robert, this is the sheer stupidity. This is real simple. Ladies, you're walking in the street. I need y'all to walk on the sidewalk, okay? You're not allowed to walk in the street. That's it. There was no need to give names and birthdays and stuff along those lines. Robert, you're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah, this is where we got to start putting some real effort into how we are actually recruiting and training these officers. What we saw during the Obama administration was the format for 21st century policing, where we have actual trainings for law enforcement officers. How do you de-escalate a situation? That was a classic example. You can actually take that video and use that as an example of exactly what police officers should not do and how to escalate a situation to make it dangerous for everyone. It was a simple situation of girls walking in the street. And these were two 15-year-old white girls. I doubt they will be on the ground in handcuffs at the end of that interaction. However, because we now have this militarization of our police departments nationwide, we no longer have a Justice Department that we can count on that will step in and actually prosecute these officers. We have a president who is now telling people, don't take it easy on folks. They want to bring these militarized, tough on crime, Nixonian tactics towards our streets. We are seeing this increasingly, not just in this incident, but in incidents around the country where police officers have this John Wayne mentality when it comes to dealing with African Americans. And the idea of childhood or adolescence or teenagerness goes out the window for Black folks in this country. You are seen and considered with this concept called age estimation. They treat you like a grown person. They don't see 15-year-old little girls. They see somebody who's a danger, somebody who they need to investigate, someone they need to stop, someone they need to frisk. And as we see in this situation, it's only going to escalate. And this could have gotten a lot worse. And for the city councilwoman, I'm glad she spoke out, but we need to stop kind of coddling these officers and being afraid that somebody will call us, defund the police or soft on crime, etc. These officers need to be off the streets for a very long time. They need to be retrained on how do you handle situations in communities. They need to understand how to de-escalate. And if we had a functioning justice system, this police department should be sued and the family should recover from this. But is what we're dealing with in the atmosphere we have right now, they're making it very difficult for us to see any type of criminal justice reform or any type of damages for crimes committed by officers.
I just really have no understanding of how walking in the middle of the street, hey, ladies, I need y'all to stay on the sidewalk, escalates into slamming somebody down and handcuffing them, Rebecca. I just don't. And again, so you didn't like the attitude, so you're arresting them because of an attitude.
Having an attitude is not an arrestable offense. If this particular person cannot handle dealing with children, dealing with teenagers, then they shouldn't have a gun and a badge. And I hear law enforcement officers across the country, they'll say this is a tough job, it's a demanding job, it's stressful. Well, guess what? It's one of the few jobs where you really can't make mistakes because you do have a gun and a badge. You do have the lawful authority to take property, to restrain people, and to even take a life. Just like I wouldn't want my surgeon who's doing surgery on me to have a high rate of making mistakes. We ought to demand greater and more from law enforcement.
Brian.
Yeah, let me just start out by saying this. I'm not so sure if those young girls had the same skin color as me, that would have happened. That's not going without saying that some police officers don't do bad things to white people too, because they do. What the hell was that all about? All you have to do, anybody with common sense would say, hey, ladies, can you please do me a favor? Please don't walk in the streets. And that's it. There's no confrontation. Why are you asking them for their IDs? Why are you asking them for their names? That's an officer that's on a power trip, probably a racist officer. And okay, so the 15-year-old doesn't answer you immediately, doesn't give her name to you immediately. You put her in handcuffs? I mean, are you effing kidding me right now? That officer is back on the streets. I mean, how could this guy still have a job? This stuff gets me so angry. And, you know, I think about the George Floyds. I think about the Ahmaud Arbery's. I still talk about that case all the time. When some people that have my skin color say systemic racism doesn't exist, those people are what I call morons. That officer should, at a minimum, suspended without pay. That's at a minimum. I think he should lose his job. How traumatic for that 15-year-old girl. By the way, I heard spit at him. I should say, hypothetically speaking, she did. Okay, I don't condone that. But how did we get to that point to begin with? These people are supposed to be professionals. You're dealing with 15-year-old kids. That officer's life was never in jeopardy. These officers have no idea how to handle things in a de-escalation way. I think most officers wouldn't behave that way. But the fact that this guy still has a job, we have a problem in our society. And while all this is going on, there are people that are calling for the pardon of Derek Chauvin, who murdered George Floyd. Let's just call that for what it is. Now, I'm glad it didn't escalate to that point. But as you said, Roland, I was thinking exactly what you said to start this segment. All that officer had to do, hey, ladies, can you please do me a favor and move along to the side of the road and go on the sidewalk? Now, if they don't listen to you after you tell them to do that, then you ask for their names because they're not doing what you're telling them to do. But Why did it even come to that point in the first place? What a waste of taxpayer dollars, as far as I'm concerned.
This is what the police report said. This is a report in the Toledo Blade. The officer, quote, closed the gap between his body and the girl's body and utilized a balance displacement takedown technique to stop the girl's active resistance and to obtain compliance to place her into handcuffs. The officer, quote, then used joint manipulation on her left arm to gain control of her left arm, placing her into handcuffs. And then it says when the officer helped the girl up, she spit in his face. Got for two young girls walking in the middle of the street. And then people wonder why folks yelled, defund the police. Then they wonder why communities, Black communities, brown communities, don't like cops. Exhibit 20,578. I'll be going
real quick. This is also why police reports are not admissible in court, because we all saw exactly what happened in the video, and then we see what the report says, and they very rarely match up. We have to start holding officers accountable for lying on police reports by using flowery language. This is why these body cam cameras are so important that came about in the last decade, because we can finally have a non-biased accounting of what happened, as opposed to whatever they write in the report.
All right, folks, gotta go.
Well, coming up tonight on Roland Martin Unfiltered, Roland will have an update on a major RICO lawsuit in Kansas City. The lawsuit targets an all-white board accused of operating Westport's nightlife scene like a racist cartel by allegedly excluding Black-owned businesses. That story is all tonight on Roland Martin Unfiltered. His show begins at 6 p.m. Eastern, only right here on the Black Star Network. Coming up after the break, in your Noble Spotlight, from the golf course to the boardroom, one woman is helping open doors that have long been closed to women, especially Black women. How Smart Golf Society is turning connections into real opportunity and even generational wealth. Stay with us. And
hey y'all, welcome to The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network and hosted by myself, Bria Baker, and my good sis, Jamira Burley. We are just two millennial women tackling everything at the intersection of politics, gender, and pop culture.
And we don't just settle for commentary. This is about solution-driven dialogue to get us to the world as it could be and not just as it is.
Watch us on the Black Star Network, so tune in to The Other Side of Change.
Violent white supremacy is, quote, the most persistent and lethal threat in the homeland.
The greatest terrorist threat to the homeland is the homegrown violence stream, including hate crime committed on behalf of some kind of white supremacist ideology.
They are coming after everything in Black America. MAGA and Donald Trump are specifically targeting Black America.
They are going after the money. Attack Black Lives Matter. Attack critical race theory. Attack woke, DEI.
MAGA wants to defund Black America. This is a perfect example of their desire to completely degrade and de-emphasize Black people.
Decade of love, joy, and power. Black Voters Matter is 10 years old, and we are just getting started. This is love with a purpose. This is Black joy in motion. This is unstoppable power. Across campuses, neighborhoods, and back roads, let's go. We show up not just to vote, but to be seen, to be heard, to belong. We ride together. We organize together. We remind each other that our voices matter, because they always have. Black Voters Matter is about more than ballots. It's about housing and healthcare, clean water and living wages, education, reproductive freedom, and dignity. It's about turning pain into action, turning belief into movement, turning community into power. We don't wait to be invited. We bring the energy. We bring the love. We bring the people. Because when Black communities come together, we don't just survive, we thrive. This is how change happens. This is how history moves. We organize, we build, we win.
Well, for generations, the golf course has been a place where deals are made, networks are built, and doors are open. But for many women, especially women of color, those doors have been historically closed. Today, we speak with a woman who is working to change that. Joining us now is Megan Fountain. She is the founder of Smart Golf Society. This is a growing movement that's not just teaching women how to play golf, but to use the sport as a means of advancing their careers and building generational wealth. Megan, thanks for joining us. Welcome to The Breakdown. Are you on mute? Check to see if you're on mute. Okay. Not yet, but let's take a quick break. We'll work on getting your audio fixed and we'll see you soon. Stay with us. You're watching The Breakdown.
Hey y'all, welcome to The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network and hosted by myself, Bria Baker, and my good sis, Jamira Burley. We are just two millennial women tackling everything at the intersection of politics, gender, and pop culture.
And we don't just settle for commentary. This is about solution-driven dialogue to get us to the world as it could be and not just as it is.
Watch us on the Black Star Network, so tune in to The Other Side of Change.
Violent white supremacy is, quote, the most persistent and lethal threat in the homeland.
The greatest terrorist threat to the homeland is the homegrown violence stream, including hate crime committed on behalf of some kind of white supremacist ideology.
They are coming after everything in Black America.
MAGA and Donald Trump are specifically targeting Black America. They are going after the money. Attack Black Lives Matter. Attack critical race theory. Attack woke, DEI.
MAGA wants to defund Black America. This is a perfect example of their desire to completely degrade and de-emphasize Black people.
Why does it feel like we're going backward? Voting rights under attack, schools stripped of funding, Black history erased. This is the Trump MAGA agenda. They want to take us back. They are redrawing congressional lines in states across the country, deciding who gets power and who gets silenced. We see what this is, a power grab. Virginians won't be fooled. Show up, vote, take back our power. It's a temporary measure that gives the people, not politicians, the final say. Vote yes by April 21st.
MAGA Republicans ended diversity programs, cut funding for Black students, and fired federal employees. And they won't stop there. Now, they've redrawn congressional maps so that they can rig the November elections. But we have the power to stop them. By voting yes for fair elections, we have the final say on who represents us in Congress. This is a temporary measure to restore fairness. They are not backing down, and neither can we. Make a plan to vote by April 21st and vote yes for fair elections.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches. I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland. Stay Black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Welcome back. Thank you for your patience. Joining us now is Megan Fountain. She is the founder, of Smart Golf Society. This is a growing movement that's not just teaching women how to play the golf, but showing us how to build generational wealth as well. Megan, thank you so much for joining us today on The Breakdown. Oh man, we don't have your audio. We certainly tried. So what we'll do is we will reschedule her so that we can get this interview, because look, I want to play golf. I want to be out there with Rolling 2 on the green. So that's an interview that you're not going to want to miss. Smart Golf Society. We will get that to you. Megan will stay around and we'll play around with her and we'll see what we can do for tomorrow's show. But we certainly appreciate you for joining us and for sticking around with us and being able to stay patient with us. We do have a little bit more news on the other side of the break. If you stay with us, you are watching The Breakdown.
With medicine and science under attack, I want to keep you and your family informed and healthy. I'm Dr. Ebony Hilton, and I knew at the age of 8 that I wanted to be a doctor. So I studied hard and became the first African-American female anesthesiologist hired at the Medical University of South Carolina since its opening in 1824. And I always say I was made into a doctor, but I was born to be a mom. And as a new mom, wife, sister, daughter, and friend, I understand how frightening a medical crisis can be. I care for individuals on some of the worst days of their lives, and it's my mission to provide you with a safe space to gain clarity on issues affecting your mind, body, and soul. I recognize that there are health disparities, particularly as it pertains to race, and I want to help bridge the gap between you and your healthcare providers. Join me every Thursday for Second Opinion on the Black Star Network, where each week I'll invite experts from various medical fields to share the latest health news. We'll discuss topics such as the vaccine debate, mental and sexual health, medical bias, infertility, menopause, andropause, nutrition, and aging. Together with my medical colleagues, we aim to provide you with a second opinion. Don't miss it, Thursdays only on the Black Star Network.
Hey y'all, welcome to The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network and hosted by myself, Bria Baker, and my good sis, Jamira Burley. We are just two millennial women tackling everything at the intersection of politics, gender, and pop culture.
And we don't just settle for commentary. This is about solution-driven dialogue to get us to the world as it could be and not just as it is.
Watch us on the Black Star Network, so tune in to The Other Side of Change.
Welcome back. We just want to ask you, do you know anyone who deserves the Noble Spotlight? If so, would you contact us, please? We would love to share their story and give them this national platform here on the Black Star Network. This is a way that you can do it. You just scan this QR code that's on the screen right now, and this is an easy way for us to just know what's on your mind, and that way we can share it with all of you at home. So again, scan the QR code so that you can connect with us here at the Black Star Network. If you want to represent us beyond the screen, there's also an easy way to do that by shopping blackstarnetwork.com. That's where you'll find official Black Star Network swag. It's a very easy way to support the network, show pride in Black-owned media, wherever you go, but it doesn't stop there, because when you shop blackstarnetwork.com, you're also supporting a growing collection of Black-owned businesses, all featured there on that site. So from apparel, accessories, unique gift items, you can discover brands that are doing incredible work and just keep our money circulating in our community. Look at all that cool stuff you can find. You can shop blackstarnetwork.com. Support the network, support Black-owned business, and also support the culture. That's going to do it for us today on The Breakdown. Thank you for supporting us and for spending part of your day with us. Be sure to keep the conversation going online. I'm still on Instagram right now. I'm live at The Noble Journalist. You can follow me. And be sure to connect with me and let me know your comments and your questions, your story ideas, everything happening in your community. And don't forget, we'll be back here on Friday, tomorrow, with more news, more context, and more voices that matter. Remember, for more news, special coverage, and on-demand content, you can visit theblackstarnetwork.com. Have a great day.